My name is Captain Aria Blackwood. For 12 years I served in military intelligence, tracking down war criminals and exposing corruption in places most people can't even pronounce. I've stared down warlords, decoded terrorist communications, and testified before Congress about operations that officially never happened. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the moment I stood outside my childhood home and realized my own family had declared war on me. It was October 15th, 3 days after my honorable discharge. The maple tree in the front yard still bore the scar where I'd carved my initials as a kid. The wraparound porch still creaked in that familiar way. But something was wrong. The windows were dark and there was a lockbox hanging on the front door. I rang the doorbell. Footsteps. Then my brother Marcus appeared behind the glass, his face unreadable. "You can't be here, Aria," he said through the door. "This isn't your house anymore." First I thought he was joking. Marcus always had a twisted sense of humor. But when I saw the real estate sign half hidden behind the rose bushes, the same roses our grandmother had planted before I was born, I felt something cold settle in my chest. "What are you talking about? Where's Mom?" "Mom's gone, Aria. Heart attack. 3 months ago." The world tilted. 3 months. Why didn't anyone? You weren't exactly easy to reach. Off playing soldier while the rest of us dealt with reality. My hands were shaking. "The funeral. Why didn't you tell me about the funeral?" Marcus's voice was flat, emotionless. "You made your choice when you left. Mom made hers when she rewrote the will." The discovery. That night I sat in my rental car outside the house until dawn watching. Around 6 a.m., a white van pulled into the driveway. 2 men in work clothes began loading furniture through the garage. Our grandmother's antique piano. Dad's military medals. The dining room table where we'd eaten Sunday dinners for 20 years. I called Marcus. It went straight to voicemail. I called my sister Violet. She answered on the 4th ring. "Aria? God, I thought you were dead." "Violet, what's happening?" "Marcus says Mom changed the will. Says the house isn't mine anymore." A long pause. "You really don't know, do you?" "Know what?" "Mom left everything to Marcus and me. Said you'd abandoned the family. Said soldiers like you don't understand what home means anymore." The phone felt heavy in my hand. "That's not. Mom wouldn't say that. She was proud of my service." "Was she?" "Because she spent the last 2 years telling everyone how you chose the military over your own mother. How you missed her birthday, missed Christmas, missed everything that mattered." I closed my eyes. It was true. Deployments, classified missions, emergency recalls. I'd missed so much. But Mom always said she understood. Always said she was proud. "Violet, I need to see the will. I need to see the paperwork." "I don't think that's a good idea. Marcus has power of attorney. He's handling everything." "Power of attorney?" Mom was only 64. She wasn't. She was sick for a long time, Aria. Depression, anxiety. Said the military took her daughter and gave her back a stranger. The line went dead. The investigation. I drove straight to the county courthouse. The clerk, an older woman with kind eyes, pulled up the property records without question. "Here we are. Transferred to Marcus Blackwood and Violet Chin Blackwood 3 months ago. Signed by Eleanor Blackwood on July 22nd. July 22nd. I stared at the date. "Are you sure about that date?" "Says so right here. Notarized by." She squinted at the screen. "Robert Kessler." I knew that name. Bobby Kessler had been Mom's neighbor for 15 years. He'd also been convicted of insurance fraud 2 years ago. "Can I get copies of everything? The will, the transfer documents, notary records." She handed me a stack of papers. "That'll be $43. I paid in cash and walked outside, spreading the documents across the hood of my car. The signature looked like Mom's, but something was off. The in Eleanor was too narrow. The loop in the B was wrong. Mom had broken her wrist when I was 16. Ever since then her handwriting had a distinctive slant. This signature was perfectly straight. I pulled out my phone and called the one person I trusted more than anyone. Lieutenant Colonel James Morrison, my former commanding officer. If anyone could help me navigate this minefield, it was him. "Blackwood, I thought you were off learning to be a civilian." "Sir, I need a favor. I need someone who knows how to uncover the truth." "What kind of truth?" I told him everything. When I finished, there was a long silence. "You think they forged your mother's will?" I think they killed her and took everything she left me. That's a serious accusation, Captain. I've been making serious accusations my whole career, sir. This time it's personal. Give me 48 hours. I know a guy. The Alliance. 48 hours later, I met James at a diner outside town. He wasn't alone. Sitting across from him was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and calloused hands. Captain Blackwood, meet Detective Sarah Cross. She specializes in elder abuse and family fraud. Detective Cross didn't smile. Your CO filled me in. I've been looking into your brother for the past day. Interesting guy. 3 DUIs, 2 bankruptcies, and a gambling problem that cost him his house last year. My stomach dropped. Gambling problem? Owes about 200 grand to some very unfriendly people. The kind who don't accept payment plans. James leaned forward. Your sister's no angel either. Her husband's construction company is under federal investigation for bid rigging. They need money and they need it fast. But Mom's house, it's worth maybe $300,000. That wouldn't solve their problems. Detective Cross pulled out a tablet. Maybe not. But this would. On the screen was an insurance policy. $2 million. Life insurance on Eleanor Blackwood taken out 8 months ago. Beneficiaries: Marcus Blackwood and Violet Chun Blackwood. $2 million. I whispered. Mom never mentioned. Because she didn't take it out. Your brother did. He had power of attorney for her finances. Depression and anxiety, remember? Made it real easy to convince her doctor she wasn't capable of making her own decisions. The air left my lungs. They murdered her. Not exactly. But they sure didn't try very hard to keep her alive. Detective Cross swiped to another document. Hospital records show your mother was admitted 6 times in the last year. Each time she was brought in by family members who said she was acting strange or not taking her medication. Each time, they pumped her full of sedatives and sent her home with stronger anti-anxiety medication. They were drugging her. Slowly, carefully, and completely legally. Until her heart couldn't take it anymore. I stared at the screen, watching my mother's death play out in medical codes and insurance forms. These people, my own blood, had turned her into a walking ghost, then collected $2 million when her heart finally gave up. I want them destroyed, I said quietly. James and Detective Cross exchanged a look. That's going to take more than wanting, Captain. We need evidence. Real evidence. And we need to be very, very careful. 3 days later, I was standing in the parking lot of Marcus's apartment complex, waiting. Detective Cross had given me a wire and a simple mission. Get him talking. He emerged from the building at 6:47 p.m., right on schedule. He'd always been predictable. Aria? What are you doing here? I wanted to talk. About Mom. About what happened. His face hardened. There's nothing to talk about. Please, Marcus. I know we haven't been close, but she was our mother. I just want to understand. He looked around nervously, then gestured toward his car. Get in. But we're not going anywhere. Just, get in. We sat in his Honda Civic, the engine off, the silence heavy between us. You really don't get it, do you? He said finally. Get what? You left us, Aria. You chose the army over your family and Mom never got over it. Do you know how many nights she cried? How many times she called your base, begging them to let her talk to you? My chest tightened. I was serving my country. You were serving yourself. And while you were off being a hero, the rest of us were here. Dealing with Dad's cancer. Dealing with Mom's breakdown. Dealing with real life. Dad died when I was 22. I came home for the funeral. For 3 days. 3 days and then you were gone again. Back to your precious military career. The wire felt hot against my skin. That doesn't give you the right to steal from me. Steal. Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. We didn't steal anything. We survived. Do you have any idea what medical bills look like? What it costs to keep someone alive when they don't want to be alive anymore? What are you talking about? Mom tried to kill herself, Aria. Last Christmas. Pills. Lots of pills. But we found her in time, got her to the hospital, got her help. I felt like I was drowning. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because you weren't here. Because every time something bad happened, you were in some desert or jungle or war zone, playing soldier while your family fell apart. Marcus was crying now, and I realized this wasn't the conversation I'd expected to have. So we did what we had to do. We got power of attorney. We managed her money. We made sure she had the best care possible. And the life insurance policy? His face went white. How do you? $2 million, Marcus. Taken out 8 months ago. Just happens to pay off all your debts and solve all your problems. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? He was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. She wanted to die, Aria. She begged us to let her die. Said she'd rather be with Dad than spend another day missing her daughter who didn't want to come home. The words hit me like physical blows. So we stopped fighting so hard. Stopped forcing her to take the medication. Stopped dragging her to therapy appointments. We just let her choose. You killed her. We let her go. I stared at him, seeing a stranger wearing my brother's face. And the house. The will. She changed it herself. Said soldiers don't need homes. Said you'd made your choice. I don't believe you. Marcus reached into his glove compartment and pulled out an envelope. Read it yourself. Inside was a letter. Mom's handwriting, definitely hers this time. Dated 6 months ago. My dear Aria. If you're reading this, then I'm gone and Marcus has done what I asked him to do. I know you'll be angry. I know you'll think your brother and sister betrayed you. But they didn't. They loved me enough to let me make my own choices about my own life. I've been dying inside for years, sweetheart. Ever since your father passed, ever since you chose the military over coming home. I know you thought you were serving something bigger than yourself, but you forgot that families are bigger than countries. Love is bigger than duty. I've left the house to Marcus and Violet because they stayed. They held my hand when I was scared. They drove me to doctor appointments. They were here. I hope someday you'll understand. I hope someday you'll forgive me. I love you, but I can't wait for you anymore. I read the letter 3 times, my hands shaking. Then I folded it carefully and handed it back to Marcus. The insurance policy? Was my idea. He agreed to it. Said if she was going to die anyway, at least her death could help the people who loved her enough to stay. We sat in silence as the sun set behind the apartment buildings. I loved her too, I said finally. I know. But love isn't enough when someone's drowning and you're 1,000 miles away. The reckoning. I removed the wire that night and threw it in a dumpster behind my hotel. Detective Cross was waiting in the lobby when I got back. Well, it's over. Over? Did he confess? Did you get what we needed? I walked past her toward the elevator. We're done here. She followed me. Captain, I don't understand. We can still build a case. Elder abuse, insurance fraud. They didn't commit fraud. The will was real. The insurance policy was real. Everything was real. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. So that's it? You're just going to let them get away with it? I pressed the button for my floor. They didn't get away with anything. They lost their mother. They lost their sister. They lost their family. That's not getting away with anything. The doors started to close. But the money isn't mine. Was never mine. I left, Detective. I chose to leave and they chose to stay. Sometimes the people who stay deserve what the people who leave think they're owed. The resolution. 2 weeks later, I drove past the house one last time. The new owners had already moved in, a young family with 2 small children. The mother was planting tulip bulbs in the front garden, right where Mom's roses used to bloom. I pulled over and watched for a while. The children were laughing, chasing each other around the maple tree. The father was raking leaves, calling out warnings to be careful, to watch out for the low branch. Look like a home again. I had been ready for war. I had been prepared to fight for what I thought was mine, to expose the people who had betrayed me, to claim the justice I believed I deserved. But sometimes the deepest revenge isn't taking what you think you're owed. Sometimes it's accepting what you've earned. I drove away without looking back. 3 months later, I got a job with a private security firm. Good pay, normal hours, and most importantly, I could go home every night. I rented a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. On Christmas morning, I drove to the cemetery. Mom's grave was covered with fresh flowers. Red roses from Violet. White lilies from Marcus. I added my own small bouquet of daisies, her favorite when I was little. I'm sorry I wasn't here, I whispered to the headstone. I'm sorry I chose everything else over you. I'm sorry, I thought duty was bigger than love. The wind picked up, scattering fallen leaves across the grass. But I'm here now. And I'm not leaving again. I stayed until sunset talking to her about everything I should have said when she was alive. About the missions I couldn't discuss, the friends I'd lost, the weight of carrying secrets that belonged to history. When I finally stood to leave, I felt lighter somehow. Not forgiven, I wasn't sure I deserved that, but at peace with the choices I'd made and the consequences I'd have to live with. The house was never really mine. Home was never really a place. Home was the choice to stay even when staying hurt. Home was the choice to love someone more than you loved your own dreams. My family had chosen each other. I had chosen duty. We all got exactly what we chose. And sometimes that's the only justice that matters. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. Aria, this is Violet. Marcus gave me your number. We're having dinner Sunday. Mom's recipe for pot roast. If you want to come, we'd like that. We'd like to try again. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. I'll bring dessert. Apple pie. The way she taught me. Before I left. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning the war. Sometimes it's admitting you were fighting the wrong battle all along. And sometimes going home means accepting that home has changed, and so have you.